Hello, Blue Rizal. Good morning. Welcome to our session on most essential learning competencies and budget of work. Our legal basis is the Regional Memorandum Number 10, Series of 2020, Guidelines on the Implementation of Most Essential Learning Competencies or MELCs of Pivot for a Budget of Work or BAW in all learning areas for key stages 1 to 4. Our session objective is for you to understand the context of the pivot bow and the K-12 most essential learning competencies or MELCs. Mahalaga na maunawaan natin ang relasyon ng MELCs at BAW, ngunit mahalaga din na malaman natin kung bakit ang DepEd ay nagkaroon ng ganitong pagbabago sa ating curriculum. 2 years ago, the DepEd, through the Bureau of Curriculum and Development, reviewed and streamlined the curriculum to the MELCs. Ang pagbabawas ng mga learning competencies ay napagplanuhan na bago pa dumating ang pandemya na dulot ng COVID-19 sapagkat madalas ay nawawalan ng klase ng dahil sa mga natural calamities na gaya ng bagyo, matinding pagbaha at lindol na lubhang nakakaapekto sa pag-aaral ng mga mag-aaral kung kaya't nagkaroon ng pag-merge o pagsasanib ng mga competencies. Ang iba ay inalis sapagkat nauulit at ang iba naman ay napanatili. Mga dalubhasa mula sa mahalagang sektor at kolehiyo ng edukasyon ang nag-isip ng mga MELCs para sa paglinang na tinatawag na knowledge, skills, attitudes at values or KSAVs ng mga mag-aaral. Nangangahulugan lamang po na ang mga guro ay hindi na kailangang gumawa pa ng mga karagdagang competencies sapagkat ang MELCs ang basihan ng mga kasanayan at pagkatuto ng mga mag-aaral. Gayun din naman, meron tayong tinatawag na learning objectives base sa binagong Bloom's Taxonomy para sa unpacking of competencies at mas epektibong paglinang ng content at performance standards. As part of DepEd's LCP, the K-12 curriculum has been streamlined to 5,689 most essential learning competencies from the original 14,171, or a reduction by 60% to address the curriculum review finding of congestion and overlaps. DepEd is trying to make everything as accessible as they can through DepEd Commons and other available channels to make sure teachers and learners have everything they need in order to continue learning. The final copy of most essential learning competencies were provided by the Department of Education as the primary reference for all schools division offices, and regional offices in determining and implementing learning delivery approaches that are suited to the local context and diversity of learners while adapting to the challenges posed by COVID-19. In an effort to continue the delivery of basic education to learners, DepEd Commons, an online platform for public school teachers to support distance learning modalities, was launched by DepEd in March of this year. To date, DepEd Commons has at least 8 million unique users from public and private schools, as well as those enrolled under the Alternative Learning Systems or ALS. Anchored to the DepEd's Sulong Kalidad, our region initiated the program titled Region 4A Calabarzon Pivot to Quality Basic Education, or R4A Cube, or Pivot 4A, which is a manifestation of significant shift of focus to improving quality of basic education in the region, with enhanced teacher performance and improved mastery of learning competencies on the part of the learners. Bilang pagpapatupad ng Republic Act 10533 at DepEd Order Number 43, Series of 2013, Ang mga katangian ng ating curriculum ay magpapatuloy na akma sa pagbabago sa kasalukuyan. Tutugon sa iba't ibang pangangailangan ng mga mag-aaral upang maihanda sila sa mga hamon na kakaharapin at umayon sa uri ng komunidad na kanilang ginagalawan. Mga konsepto na akma sa kanilang kapaligiran tungo sa paglinang ng tinatawag na KSABs or Knowledge, Skills, Attitudes, and Values na dapat malinang mula kindergarten hanggang grade 12. Our curriculum at present is attributed as enduring curriculum, where students' understanding is lasting because we develop lifelong learners. The MELC Pivot for a Bow is a teaching resource material and reference that contains learning competencies and most essential learning competencies and time allotment arranged into columns for easy reference and notation. This would guide teachers in designing and planning their lessons. The design of the MELC Pivot for a Bow is influenced by various teaching learning principles on the nature of learners, KSABs learners should learn, and the brevity of knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values. And of course, to redirect instruction in the classroom as to understanding the MELCs by bridging them through the identified enabling competencies as mapped in the MELC Pivot for a Bow. Kailangan ng enabling competencies o mga prerequisite skills ay malinang muna upang matiyak ang paglinang na tinatawag na MELCs kung kaya't ang mga guro ay inaasahang may sapat na kasanayan sa tinatawag na unpacking of competencies base sa bagong Bloom's Taxonomy na aangkop sa iba't ibang modalities na pagkatuto ng mga mag-aaral. This policy is issued to ensure effective use and implementation of the MELC Pivot for a budget of work in all learning areas in key stages 1 to 4 in all public elementary and secondary schools in the region. Schools Division Offices or SDOs through the respective curriculum implementation divisions. In our division, we have Dr. Rosemary Blando, shall oversee the implementation of these guidelines in all public schools under their jurisdiction. Budget of work or BOW refers to a set of guide providing the specific MELCs, learning competencies, and their number of days to be taught in reference to the targets of each learning area in grade level. This provides greater attention to more relevant learning competencies as to their enabling and enrichment competencies. Pivot for a budget of work as a regional blueprint is one of the features of Pivot Learning Continuity Plan or LCP. Ginamit ang acronym na SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, result-oriented, at time-bounded, bilang panuntunan sa pagpili ng MELCs. Ang ibang learning competencies ay naging enabling competencies ng mga MELCs at ang iba naman ay naging enrichment competencies sapagkat may mga panahon na kailangan pang linangin ang kasanayan ng mga mag-aaral. 4 po ang key stages ng basic education sa ating bansa na nakapaloob sa MELCs at BOW. Key stage 1, mula kindergarten hanggang grade 3. Ang key stage 2 naman ay mula grade 4 hanggang grade 6. Key stage 3 ay mula grade 7 hanggang grade 10. At ang key stage 4 ay mula grade 11 hanggang grade 12. Kindergarten is the first stage of compulsory and mandatory formal education, which consists of 1 year of preparatory education for children at least 5 years old as prerequisite for grade 1 based on DepEd Order number 47, series of 2016. Learning competency refers to a specific skill performed with varying degrees of independence. It has different degrees of difficulty and performance levels. It also refers to the ability to perform activities according to the standards expected by drawing one's knowledge, skills, and attitudes based on DepEd Order number 21, series of 2019. While learning resources refer to print, non-print, offline and or online materials aligned to the contexts of the K-12 basic education curriculum. They are used by learners as materials in meeting the curriculum expectations. The MELC pivot for a bow for kindergarten consists of quarters. MELCs and domains of child development are considered as the basic features and framework of early childhood education. It also contains learning competencies and assignment, which may either be first to appear or a follow-up competency. The MELC pivot for a bow is in mother tongue-based multilingual education or MTB-MLE, English and Filipino, contain the following parts: quarter, MELCs, domains, learning competencies, and number of days taught. The unique features of these bows as compared to the other learning areas are the language domains, which reflect the different learning targets and or macro skills, and take note that domains vary from one grade level to another. The MELC pivot for a bow in non-kindergarten and non-language learning areas contain the following parts: quarter, MELCs, learning competencies, and number of days taught. Meanwhile, pivot for a bow in MAPE is also divided into its four components: music, arts, physical education, and health. Also, pivot bow in EPP TLE is also presented and categorized as to components and or specializations. In most cases, one learning competency or MELC shall be taught for one meeting or session. For learning areas with a bunch of learning competencies or MELCs, which have been clustered or grouped, number of days, meetings or sessions are assigned based on their relationship and relevance. Like in Filipino, there are MELCs that are taught in one session. In each quarter, all target learning competencies and or most essential learning competencies have to be taught in specific mandatory non-negotiable contact days, weeks as reflected in the bow. Public elementary and secondary school teachers and curriculum managers shall strictly observe this mandatory contact period in a quarter. 8 buwan lamang po ang panuruang taong kasalukuyan at isa ito sa mga dahilan kung kaya't compressed ang ating curriculum. Sa ating division, 4-4 approach ang ipatutupad mula kindergarten hanggang grade 10 at 5-5 approach naman sa senior high school bilang pagtugon sa kahilingan ng mga magulang na may mahigit sa isang anak na nag-aaral. Sapagkat ang tahanan ang magsisilbing paaralan ng mga mag-aaral. Ang kanilang magulang o sino mang may kakayanan na magturo sa pamilya ang gagabay sa kanila. The exact number of days with reference the total number of days in a year as declared by the Department of Education for school year 2020-2021 shall then be used or designed by the school head on the conduct of quarterly exams, co-curricular or culminating activities subject to the existing guidelines or protocols of the central office and other prevailing rules that may be released under the new normal. The MELC pivot for a bows used the MELCs as the key focus in each quarter in each learning area and grade level. The number of MELCs varies from one quarter to another and one grade level to another. In planning lessons for each quarter, teachers shall look into the MELC pivot for above and locate the indicated MELCs. All learning competencies in the MELC pivot for above shall still be taught with great emphasis on the MELCs, whereas more activities and assessment procedures should be given in dealing with MELCs. Kailangan na competencies ay may katapat na assessment o pagtataya upang masiguro ang pagkatuto ng mga mag-aaral. Some MELCs and learning competencies in the MELC pivot for above are written as terminal competencies. As such, these MELCs and learning competencies have to be introduced and are taught using enabling competencies. Meanwhile, some MELCs and LCs have to be further enhanced with the help of enrichment competencies. The following learning delivery options shall be applied in teaching and meeting these MELCs and learning competencies. We have face-to-face or F2F, distance learning. Under distance learning, we have online distance learning or ODL, modular distance learning or MDL, television and radio-based instruction or TVRBI. And we also have blended learning, the F2F and ODL, F2F and MDL, F2F and TVRBI, FTF and combination of ODL, MDL, and TVRBI. As an approach, multimodal assessment will be used, which involves the promotion of reflective learning as one of the key agents of multimodal assessment. Thus, all teachers are encouraged to facilitate the development of learners' portfolio per week on any modality chosen by learners and or parents. The pivot for above lessons and curriculum delivery process follow four main teaching learning phases, with the teacher as a facilitator of learning using the idea structure for a 30-minute to 1-hour lesson, depending on the nature or setup of each learning area. These phases include the following: introduction, development, engagement, and the assimilation phase. Let's look at the diagram that illustrates the spiral development of knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values, which starts at the center with the core knowledge that is formed into concepts and skills, leading to the cognitive tasks that develop competencies towards establishment of core values and habits of mind. For a learner to develop this process, he needs to venture on his 21st century skills, which are communicate, collaborate, think critically, and to become creative and innovative. Thus, these inner skills and 21st century skills are developed and manifested within the idea phases of the lesson. The introduction phase, where the learners recall; the development phase, where learners are provided with remediation activities; the engagement phase, where learners are able to reflect; and the assimilation phase, where there is relearning among learners. Here's the comparison of the DLL-DLP parts based on DepEd Order number 42, Series 2016, and the idea parts based on Regional Order number 1, Series of 2020. Please do analyze the difference. Under procedures, we have the idea parts, and instead of remarks, the last part is reflection made and realized by the teacher as to the effectiveness and impact of his or her day's session. Let me end this session by saying the words from our former DepEd Undersecretary, Dr. Dina S. Ocampo. The best curriculum is contextualized by those implementing it. It is now up to us to ensure that the enhanced curriculum truly transforms our schools and communities. With the best of our abilities, let us do what we can for the Filipino learners. Thank you. Sulong Blue Rizal, di uurong, laging susulong. Mabuhay po tayong lahat. God bless everyone.